Rachel was the kind of person who could light up any room. At just 25 years old, she carried a vibrant energy, dreams of a better life, and the determination to face any challenge. But fate, unpredictable and relentless, delivered a twist that changed everything. A sudden illness permanently robbed her of her hearing, thrusting her into a world of complete silence. Around the same time Rachel was struggling to accept her new reality, Mateo, her first child, was born. A healthy baby, full of life, with a strong cry that she couldn't hear. Other mothers could identify every sound their children made: a laugh, a cry, even the babbling of first words. Rachel, on the other hand, relied on her eyes and intuition. Every expression on Mateo's little face was both a challenge and a source of hope. She knew she had to be strong no matter how hard it was. Her reality was harsh. Living in a small, modest apartment, Rachel worked 2 jobs to ensure there was food on the table and a future for her son. She would drop Mateo off at daycare in the morning, rush to her first job, then to her second, and still find the strength to care for him at night. Despite her determination, the anguish was inevitable. Rachel's greatest challenge wasn't the physical exhaustion from her long work hours. It was the pain of not being able to hear her son cry at night. To compensate, she installed a device in his crib that would vibrate to alert her if Mateo was crying. It was her way of overcoming the silence. Yet, no matter how resourceful she was, the sadness of missing precious moments of his childhood never went away. Rachel, however, refused to give up. For her, her disability wasn't a sentence but a constant reminder that her love for Mateo had to be greater than any difficulty. Even in the midst of silence, she vowed to herself that she would be the best mother he could ever have. Rachel couldn't hear, but she loved with an intensity that transcended sound. To Mateo, his mother was a safe harbor, a figure who was always there, even if she couldn't respond to his cries or laugh at his early attempts to babble words. Rachel created her own language with her son, a dialogue of gestures, touches, and looks that conveyed all the love she held in her heart. When he cried, Rachel couldn't hear it, but she could feel it. With a vibrating device carefully placed under his crib, she knew when he needed attention during the night. The soft vibrations alerted her to rush and hold Mateo in her arms, soothing him with gentle movements and an encouraging smile. Even in the silence, Rachel learned to interpret every expression on her son's face. The eyes that sought comfort, the furrowed brow that revealed discomfort, or the sparkle in his gaze that showed happiness. The days weren't easy. Rachel knew she would never hear Mateo's laughter or the first time he called her mom. This reality carried an invisible weight, a sadness she faced quietly. But instead of letting the pain consume her, Rachel found a way to turn what seemed like a limitation into an opportunity. She devoted herself to creating a home where Mateo felt loved and secure, where he could grow up knowing his mother was his strongest foundation. Rachel's love was made up of small things: the gentle touch as she put Mateo to sleep, the exaggerated expressions she made to draw a smile from him, and the time she spent even after exhausting workdays to be present. She couldn't offer him the sound of the world, but she gave him something even more valuable: the certainty that he was deeply loved and protected. Though there were moments when Rachel cried silently, mourning what she couldn't share with her son, she always rose with the same determination. To her, being a mother wasn't about hearing. It was about feeling, loving, and overcoming. And Mateo, even as a small child, seemed to understand that, responding with a sparkle in his eyes that said more than words ever could. He knew he was loved. Mateo was an observant boy. From an early age, he noticed his mother was different from the others. While his friends talked about conversations with their parents, Mateo knew that communicating with Rachel happened differently, through gestures, looks, and a connection only they shared. To him, Rachel was a symbol of strength and resilience. She worked tirelessly, cared for him with all her love, and still faced a world that often wasn't ready to accommodate someone like her. Though Mateo admired his mother deeply, the world outside their home was a different story. At school, children could be cruel. Mateo became the target of jokes and hurtful comments about Rachel's disability. They called his mom weird or said she wasn't normal. He tried to ignore it, but each word cut deep like a knife. At first, he cried in secret, wondering why the world could be so unfair to someone as kind as his mother. But Mateo was stronger than he seemed. Over time, the pain transformed into a kind of fuel. He decided he would never let prejudice define his or his mother's story. Instead, he used it as motivation. One day I'm going to change all of this, he promised himself. He vowed to find a way to repay every sacrifice Rachel made for him and, more importantly, to restore something she had lost: the ability to hear. Mateo developed a sense of maturity beyond his years. While other kids spent their free time playing, he immersed himself in books. Even as a young boy, he was drawn to science and understood that knowledge would be the key to helping his mother. At school, he was known as the dedicated student, the one who always asked questions and wanted to learn more. His teachers noticed there was something special about him, a determination that went beyond his age. At home, Mateo tried to hide the pain he carried from school. He knew Rachel already faced so many challenges and didn't want her to worry. But silently, he used every insult he endured as a reminder that he needed to become someone extraordinary. Not for himself, but for her. Rachel had given him everything, and Mateo wouldn't rest until he could give back. For him, Rachel wasn't just his mother. She was his greatest inspiration. Even in the face of adversity, Mateo knew there was something greater in store for both of them. It was just a matter of time before he could show the world how amazing his mother was, and ensure that one day she would hear it too. Mateo grew up carrying a flame that never burned out, the desire to change his mother's life. With determination and focus, he embraced education as his most powerful weapon. From an early age, his teachers recognized something special in him, a spark in his eyes that reflected his thirst for knowledge. While his classmates often complained about homework, Mateo saw it as one more step toward his goal. With every accomplishment, he thought of Rachel. She would come home exhausted after long hours of work, yet she always paused to ask about his day, even though she couldn't hear his answers. In return, Mateo would show her his grades, knowing that those papers filled with numbers and comments were a language Rachel could understand. "This is all for you, Mom," he thought silently as he watched her proud smile. When he wasn't at school, Mateo spent hours in the library. He devoured books on science, human anatomy, and everything related to how the ear functions. Even at a young age, he had already decided that his future career would be in medicine. He wanted to become a specialist capable of transforming the lives of people like Rachel. The days were long, but he never complained. Rachel was his constant inspiration. If she could work 2 jobs and still be an amazing mom, he could give his best as well. In his teenage years, Mateo's efforts began to bear fruit. He participated in a science competition and won first place, earning him the opportunity to study at a prestigious school. There, his talents blossomed even further. The boy who once endured bullying was now admired by his peers and teachers. Everyone knew Mateo had a greater goal, a purpose that went beyond himself. When he finished high school, Mateo applied to one of the best medical schools in the country. He didn't have the money to pay for tuition, but his impeccable record of dedication and outstanding grades earned him a full scholarship. When the acceptance letter arrived, he ran to show it to his mother. Rachel held the envelope with trembling hands, her heart racing before she even opened it. When she realized her son had achieved the impossible, Rachel couldn't hold back her tears. She hugged Mateo tightly, trying to silently convey everything she felt: pride, gratitude, love. For her, every sacrifice she had made was worth it in that moment. When the day came for Mateo to leave, Rachel felt her heart ache. He was leaving to pursue his dream, but the apartment would feel empty without his presence. Still, she knew it was necessary. "Go, son. Conquer the world," she said in sign language, holding back her tears. Mateo left, carrying not just his bags but the certainty that he needed to honor the woman who inspired him to dream so big. When he started medical school, Mateo found his place. From the very first day, he showed extraordinary dedication. It wasn't enough to be good, he wanted to be excellent. Every class, every book, every sleepless night was a step toward his goal: to give his mother back something she had lost. More than his technical knowledge, Mateo stood out for his empathy. His peers and professors often commented on his unique way of seeing patients, how he looked beyond diagnoses and numbers. When asked about his motivation, he would smile and say, "My mom is my reason." His story became an inspiration to everyone around him. During his studies, Mateo decided to specialize in otolaryngology, the medical field focused on the ear, nose, and throat. To him, it was an obvious path, almost as if destiny had led him there. He dedicated himself intensively, not only to his classes but also to researching hearing loss and cutting-edge technologies that could help people like Rachel. Mateo sought out the best specialists in the world, attended lectures and participated in international conferences. He didn't limit himself to what was taught in the classroom. He wanted more, needed more because his mission went beyond himself. Gradually, he built a network of connections with renowned surgeons and researchers in the field of auditory health. Every conversation, every lesson brought him closer to what he believed was possible, restoring Rachel's ability to hear the world. In the lab, Mateo studied advanced technologies such as cochlear implants and sophisticated hearing aids. He analyzed cases similar to his mother's, trying to understand what had worked in other situations. His dedication was tireless, but what truly drove him was love. For Mateo, being a doctor wasn't just a profession. It was a promise he had made to himself, a way to thank the woman who had sacrificed everything to give him a future. Over time, Mateo gained access to innovative technologies and surgical procedures that could bring hope to Rachel. He knew the journey wouldn't be easy, but he was ready to face any challenge. For Mateo, every moment of effort was more than just work. It was the embodiment of a love that surpassed any limits. After years of hard work, Mateo's efforts culminated in a decisive moment. After countless sleepless nights of studying, extensive research, and the support of specialists around the globe, he managed to make the impossible happen, arranging a surgery for his mother at one of the most renowned medical centers. It was a unique opportunity, and Mateo knew every second of that day would be unforgettable. At first, Rachel hesitated. She had never asked anything of Mateo, and even though she knew he worked for her, it was hard for her to accept that she deserved something so grand. But Mateo, with the same care she had always shown him, held her hands and said, "Mom, this is my chance to give back just a little of everything you've given me. Trust me." With a heart full of hope and emotion, she agreed. The day of the surgery arrived, bringing with it a mix of anxiety and hope. Mateo stayed by Rachel's side until the last moment, holding her hand as she was taken into the operating room. He trusted the doctors, but as both a son and a professional, he couldn't suppress his tension. The hours that followed felt like an eternity. He paced back and forth, mentally revisiting every decision he had made to get to this point. Finally, the operating room doors opened and the surgeon stepped out with an encouraging smile. "The surgery was a success," he said. Mateo felt his legs nearly give out from the overwhelming relief. But the most emotional moment was yet to come. In the days that followed, Rachel began her recovery and adaptation process. The surgery restored about 50% of her hearing, but with the help of advanced hearing aids, that number increased to an impressive 80%. For someone who had lived in silence for so long, it was like discovering the world all over again. The moment Rachel heard Mateo's voice for the first time was indescribable. He walked into her hospital room and said, "Hi, Mom." She brought her hands to her ears in disbelief and immediately began to cry. It was as if an invisible barrier had been torn down. She embraced him tightly and said, her voice choked with emotion, "I never needed to hear your words to know you loved me, but now hearing your voice is the greatest gift God has given me." Mateo cried along with her. That moment was more than a dream come true. It was proof that love and dedication could overcome any barrier. Rachel could now hear the world again. But more importantly, she could hear the voice of the son who had always been her greatest motivation. Rachel and Mateo's journey could have ended with Rachel's partial hearing recovery, but they both knew this achievement was only the beginning. Inspired by his mother's strength and the impact the surgery had on their lives, Mateo decided he wanted to do more, not just for Rachel but for all those facing similar challenges. This was the birth of the foundation, The Sound of Hope, a project dedicated to helping people with hearing impairments who were in vulnerable situations. Mateo used his experience as a doctor and his personal story to create something that truly made a difference. The foundation provided treatments, hearing aids, and even surgeries for those who couldn't afford them. It also offered emotional support and guidance to families, helping them navigate the same challenges Rachel and Mateo had faced together. Rachel, now with her partial hearing restored, became an essential part of the foundation. She worked with mothers who, like her, were struggling to raise their children while facing immense challenges. By sharing her story, Rachel showed that love could overcome any obstacle and inspired other women to believe in themselves. Her presence was living proof that even in silence, it's possible to build a life full of meaning. The foundation grew quickly, reaching people in various parts of the world. Each story of transformation brought new tears of joy to Rachel, who saw in every success a reflection of what Mateo had done for her. For Mateo, every smile and every life transformed was a way to honor his mother and all the sacrifices she had made to give him a future. Their impact went far beyond the personal. Rachel and Mateo became a symbol of resilience, love, and justice. Together they showed that hardships don't define a person but rather how they confront them. Rachel, who had once been marked by silence, regained her dignity. Mateo, the boy who dreamed of restoring sound to his mother, became a global example of how love can transform lives.